Hi guys, if it's Friday, down in Dirty Woods craft time. Today we're going to talk a little bitty trick about alcohol stoves. Now this one happens to be an old version of the Pathfinder alcohol stove, but Trangias, the ones you make out of a Coke can, all are going to follow this same line. So I want to drop a little bit of experience with it. I'm going to give you a little idea of tips and tricks to make these perform better. One, alcohol is a very good fuel to use for this because it burns clean, burns hot, burns a pretty long time, doesn't produce a lot of toxic fumes and stuff like that within the realm of what we're discussing, etc. But at the same time, it also has some limitations with it. If it's cold, it does not turn to gas as easy, what's called blooming. So whenever you open up one of the stoves, you're going to find, no matter what kind it is, you're going to have those series of little bitty holes right there, which are the ports. Now, in a nutshell, here's what's going to happen. Now, I've got this in the bag. I can take it all the way out, but you understand. This rebated rim, and a lot of them have some sort of rim, those of you that make the plain old Coke can one, etc., you want to take and wet the top edge and set it on fire. That's going to initially ignite it, get the fuel to burning, and that's going to heat the fuel. As the fuel heats, it expands, turning into gas, i.e. evaporating is what it's doing at high speed. And that evaporation is going to come up, and a transition is going to happen where it's going to go from just burning out here in the open to coming through these ports, and it's going to what we call bloom. Okay, and that becomes a blue flame in jets, just like you see a home gas stove doing. The thing about it is, if this is cold, if the fuel is cold, real cold, it doesn't bloom as fast. It takes a long time to heat it up. That was the problems with the bigger, Pathfinders early on was, one, they're stainless steel. The material doesn't heat up as fast as brass. And two, it's got to transfer that heat to the fuel. The fuel has to get that hot, not the entire. So it's got a lot of BTUs it's got to generate. So how to get around this? Well, one, in the cold winter time, and you're going to be using my stove in just a little bit, take the fuel, if this has already got fuel in it, put it in a jacket pocket, warm it up, put it someplace close to me, sealed up so it ain't gonna leak, and put it someplace close to me for at least, say, a half hour or so before I go to do it, to warm it up. Warm that fuel up to body temp. I mean, you're already a 100-degree heater, right? Why not warm up this fuel? Warm up that can. Now I'm going to get my place prepared and get everything ready to go. The stands up, everything. The last thing I need to do is set the stove down and light it. Okay? Now, Blackie, I've got one of them Coke cans and I carry my fuel separate. That's fine. Stick the can in one pocket, stick the fuel something close to you. If it's a sealed up, whatever sticks to. Warm it up. That's the whole secret. Warm up that fuel. So that when I set it down there, if you've got snow or whatever, put an insulating layer between the bottom of the can, the stove, and that cold, cold ground. Pine straw, whatever. Nothing that's going to spread and make a big conflagration, but take a little insulation. It wouldn't hurt you guys up in snow country to carry a little circular puck of some sort of luminized, insulative material that's fire resistant. Might be a good idea. How about one of those silicone hot hand pads like you use for pulling things out of an oven? That'd be a good thing to cut a circle out of, right? Sit down on that cold ground and then set the stove on it. Again, warm it up. So the fuel is warm, the stove is warm. Now whenever I touch light and put the match to it and it ignites, it'll more quickly, I've already used my PTUs to bring it up, see? And I'll bloom faster. I'll be able to cook quicker, heat it up faster, and in the long run use less fuel, because if I just pull it out cold, sit it on the cold ground, the fuel's cold because it's in my backpack back there, nothing is warm, and it's 18 degrees out here. Well, it's got to warm it all the way up to the point that it heats that fuel up. So it might burn 10 minutes warming everything up, especially if it's a stainless steel or something like that, that it's got to kickstart the stove, so to speak. That's a lot of fuel wasted trying to warm it up. So, warm up the fuel, warm up the stove. It just makes life so much easier on the cold days. Now, flip it. In the winter, in the summer, when it is blazing hot out here, this stuff evaporates quickly. So again, don't uncap it until time. Because if I take, for example, here in my beloved South, when it's during the summer and it's 100 degrees, and I bring this stove out and sit it on a hot rock, and take the cap off, and then I meander around doing my other stuff, and I come back, it'll evaporate a lot of fuel just sitting in the sun, right? So keep the cap on, keep that fuel. If you got a Coke can stove, don't fill it up until time to use it, so I don't evaporate and lose a lot of fuel just to evaporation from heat. See, I want to do that. In fact, it wouldn't be a bad idea if you're camping out and you got a cooler, in order to take that fuel, like I said, stick it in the damn cooler for 5 minutes and cool that fuel down just a little before I fill up my stove to ignite it, because it'll be a more consistent burn. I can use less fuel, and it's not just roaring quickly. I don't want it to be a blowtorch. I want it to take a minute, you know what I mean? So therefore, regulate your fuel, regulate your stove temperature. It makes a difference. Hope you've enjoyed this, guys. If you have, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, guys, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.